Boys and girls, welcome to Read Me a Story. We have a story tonight. It's a fairy story, a fairy tale called Rumpelstiltskin. Stella and Nathan told this story about Rumpelstiltskin. Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there lived a very poor miller and his beautiful daughter. The miller sat in front of the old mill every day and talked about how bad his business was. His daughter sat at her spinning wheel, spinning cloth to sell at market. One day, the king of the country stopped at the old mill for a drink of water. The miller boasted to him of his beautiful daughter. "And she is as clever as she is beautiful," he exclaimed. "My daughter can even spin straw into gold." "Straw into gold?" marveled the king. "She must come with me to the royal palace at once." That night, the king led the miller's daughter to a small room filled with straw. "You must spin all this straw into gold by morning," the king told her. "If you do not, you and your father will pay with their lives." Alone and frightened, the poor girl cried bitterly. She could not spin straw into gold. Suddenly, she heard the sound of tinkling bells. Before her stood a tiny man with a long beard. He was dressed in brightly colored clothes, and the silver bells on his cap and shoes tinkled when he moved. "Why are you crying?" asked the little man. "I am crying because I must spin all of this straw into gold before morning, or my father and I will die," the girl replied. "And what will you give me if I spin it for you?" the little fellow asked. "Oh, kind sir," the unhappy girl replied, "I will gladly give you my necklace." The strange little man took the necklace greedily and sat down at the spinning wheel. All night long he spun. By morning, the room was filled with glittering gold. When the king saw the gold, he was very pleased. But that night, he led the miller's daughter to an even larger room. "Spin all of this straw into gold by morning, or you and your father will pay with your lives," he thundered. After the king had gone, the poor girl sobbed aloud. How could she do what he had asked? "Oh, little man, wherever you are," she wept, "please come help me at once more." The little man appeared as suddenly as he had the night before. "What will you give me if I spin the straw into gold for you again?" he demanded. The miller's daughter sighed. "All I have is this silver ring," she whispered. The tiny man snatched the ring and sat down at the spinning wheel. When he left at dawn, the room was filled with gold. The king was delighted. "Your father was right," he said. "You are not only beautiful, but you are clever, too." Then he led the girl to an enormous room filled to the ceiling with straw. "Spin all of this straw into gold, and you shall become my queen," he told her. "But remember, you dare not fail." and he left her alone in the great room. "Oh, little man, please help me again," sobbed the frightened girl. No sooner had she spoken than the little fellow appeared before her once more. "Crying again?" he exclaimed. "Well, what will you give me if I help you this time?" "I have nothing left to give you," the poor girl wept. The little man snapped his fingers and jumped into the air. "Promise that you will give me your firstborn child," he said, "and I will spin the straw into gold." It was a terrible bargain, but if the miller's daughter did not promise, there would be no gold, and she and her father would die. Fearfully, she agreed. All night long, the little man hummed as he spun the straw into gold. In the morning, the miller's daughter was surrounded by the gleaming treasure. "Wait, please, wait," she called. "I want to thank you, and I don't even know your name." But the little man had disappeared. When the king opened the door that morning, the gold came tumbling out into the hall. Overjoyed at his good fortune, he ordered that wedding preparations be begun at once. A few days later, the miller's daughter became his queen. The royal couple lived happily together in the palace and ruled well. When a tiny prince was born to them, the kingdom rejoiced at their good fortune. But one day, as the queen was playing with her baby, she heard the faint tinkle of silver bells. There before her stood the strange little man. "I've come for your firstborn child, your highness," he crowed. "You remember your promise, of course." "Oh, but surely you would not do such a cruel thing," cried the queen. "I'll give you money, land, all my jewels, rather than give up my baby." "I have all the jewels I want, your highness," the little man replied. "I will not take jewels in place of the baby." She saw that he was wearing her necklace and her silver ring. The queen wept and pleaded, until at last the little man said, "Very well, I will make another bargain with you. If you can guess my name in 3 days, you may keep your child." And in a twinkling, he was gone. The queen ran to tell the king of the terrible news. "We must think of all the names there are in the world," the king decided. "Come, prime minister and court jester. Come, cooks and maids, butlers and guards of the palace. Stop your work and write down all the names you know. Messengers, go to all parts of the kingdom to try to learn the little man's name." The next morning, the little fellow returned. All the members of the court gathered around him. "Is your name Anthony?" asked the prime minister. "Is your name Timothy?" asked the laundress. "Is it Adam? Is it Claude? Is it Marcus?" "No, no, it's not." The little man laughed as he ran from the hall. When the silver bells sounded on the second day, the poor queen began to cry. "Is your name Donald?" she sobbed. "Is it David? Is it Casper? Is it George?" "No, no, no," the little fellow shouted impatiently. "You'll never guess it." "Is it Horace?" demanded the king. "Could it be Jonathan or Wilbur?" cried the queen. "Is it Harold?" asked the prime minister. "Is it Mandred?" whispered the scullery maid. "Tell me, is it Patrick or Alexander?" begged the queen. "Is it Abner?" called the captain of the palace guard. "No, no, no," screamed the little man. "You'll never guess. Just one more day and that baby will be mine." That night the king and queen went through all the books in the library looking for new names. At sunrise, a messenger galloped into the courtyard and bowed before the king. "Your Majesty," he said, "last night I hid and watched a strange little man do a dance all alone in the woods. This is the odd song he sang. Though all alone in this dark forest, I am a creature of great fame. Nobody knows what I know. That Rumpelstiltskin is my name." The queen was happy beyond words. She gave the messenger a large bag of gold as a reward for bringing the good news. Soon the little man joined them in the throne room. "Well," he chuckled, "have you guessed my name?" "Is it Winston? Or Archibald? Or Arthur?" the queen asked, smiling gently and cradling her baby in her arms. "No, no, no," he howled. "Is it Spindleshanks? Is it Bandylegs? No, no, it's not." The little man hugged himself in delight. "Give me the child. You will never be able to guess my name." He ran up to the queen's throne. The queen stood up. "Is your name Rumpelstiltskin?" she asked in a loud, clear voice. The little man gave a long, loud roar of rage. "Who told you?" he shrieked. "Who told you my name?" He hopped up and down in anger. Then he stamped his feet so hard that at last he stamped himself right out of sight. And he was never, ever seen or heard of again. That night there was a great celebration in the kingdom. "How happy we are!" exclaimed the king and the queen, the prime minister, the court jester, the cooks, the butlers, the maids, and the palace guards. And they lived that way, very happily, forever after. And that's our story for today, boys and girls. I hope you liked it. I thank you all for coming. Did you like that fairy tale?